I'm getting ready to start a meeting. David, you guys can stay there. Okay, everybody, I'm going to call the meeting to order. You guys can stay there. Trustees can stay there, okay? Good evening. The time is 5:37. A workshop meeting of the Board of Trustees of Socorro Independent School District will be held Monday, October 17th, 2022. And the time is 5:37. If you please join me with Pledge of Allegiance, please. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, there's no public comment. At this time, we will begin the workshop. Moke and Casey, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. We are back and happy to be here. And as a quick reminder, Dr. Duran is here with us, Jody Duran, and then Dr. Wood, Tony Wood. We are all retired / recovering superintendents, so it's Greg and Jody and Tony. So we'll get the doctor out of it. They retired a couple of years ago. Also, as a quick reminder, Moke Casey is a consulting firm, and one of the rationale, I guess, for utilizing, which I always did in all three of my districts, to utilize a neutral, objective viewpoint during strategic planning, not to do the work, but to just come as a neutral observer and just say, this is what we heard, and then reflect that back to your senior leader team and your board. I want to personally say thank you to your board and your senior leader team. Sometimes when we're facilitating, and I don't mean this in a negative way to other districts, and because it's not happening here, but we get we really want this to be a neutral exercise, but make sure they say this, or this, if you follow what I'm saying. And we are not hearing that here. It's just follow the process. This is great. We're really listening to the community, and let's just see where this winds up. So I want to thank the board and the senior leader team for just opening the door and saying, let's bring folks in and let's take a listen. So if I have any expertise, it may be argued that they're in strategic planning, and so I want, just so that you know, that this is all work that is going towards an end. And you don't have to look in your packet right now, but a little bit later on, there's a draft of a balanced scorecard, what's called a balanced scorecard. And so it's a strategic plan, but it's written in the format of a balanced scorecard. We believe strongly at Moke Casey in the balanced scorecard because we don't want the strategic plan to wind up as a spot, is what we like to call it, and that's a strategic plan on the shelf. So we're trying to make sure that this is a document that drives work, not that just winds up on the shelf. That's kind of antiquated. It's really on the web now, a SPAL, I guess, strategic plan on the web. So we'll look here in just a little bit at your first draft of your strategic plan in a scorecard format. And it's blank, by the way, except for 2 items as it currently exists. And our goal after tonight is to have 3 items on it. Now this is what I know. And I don't know that anything you can say this is true, but what I'm about to say is true. Belief should always drive mission and vision. Mission and vision should always drive priorities. Priorities should be the anchors for strategic objectives. Strategic actions should line up to strategic objectives, and then strategic actions should be measured along the way, and then strategic objectives should be measured at the end. Now, that's a 30-second explanation of a scorecard. You'll see more of what that looks like here in a little bit. But the first thing that I said was that belief drives mission and vision. And so tonight, potentially in 60 minutes or less, this meeting represents the end of the beginning of Socorro ISD Strategic Plan Scorecard. So tonight is the end of the beginning, if that makes sense. Hopefully before somebody kicks off on some football game that may or may not be important to some people in the room, I've heard. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Duran. Jody. Yes, thank you for reminding me to read the first thing you tell me to write on my list. I don't know why I wrote it down, because I knew you were reminding me. So I think that the cabinet members, it's looking like stayed at the table that you were at before. Is that right? And that's good. But we're going to renumber and divide the groups back up just to keep it fresh tonight. Now, there's a reason for that. We gathered input the time before when we were here, and then tonight we want to look at that and validate that, but we want to do it through fresh lenses of fresh groups. And so will the students that are here raise your hand? And where you got, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is that right? We have 5? So we're going to divide you all out, and let's just count off 5. So 1, good to see you again. Good to see both of you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then where was the other one? 5. Good to see you. You look mighty nice tonight. So you guys will go into the numbers that I just called, and then the cabinet members are at the tables right now. Y'all raise your hand just to make sure everybody knows. So these are senior leaders in the district that are table facilitators. Thank you. Happy birthday to you, ma'am. That's the 5th time this year you've told me happy birthday. That's right. That's what I hear. Are there... we're going to end, and then board members, you're out and about at the same tables that you were at. Is that right? So I think board members, you all just stay there. We're just going to kind of mix the groups up that are coming to you. Is that fair enough? So y'all just stay at your table, and then it'll be a fresh group. So in order to help me, would everybody else just stand up, and I'm going to count you off? Is that fair enough? And then we're going to go to our different groups. I just want to make sure that I'm good to see you again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. You're number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Good to see you, sir. 4, 5, 6. All right. So group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. Group 6, divide up. We got a couple of minutes to see if we can make it.
Yeah, I think you got it. All right, are we getting settled? Everybody find their place? Okay, again, I'm Jody Duran. Greg said that I retired a couple years ago. It was really at the end of June. I don't want you all to think I'm older than I am. But we all are retired. He's just been retired a little longer. Really happy to be with you all tonight. Tony and I both have roots here in El Paso, or have lived here. My family's here, so I'm in El Paso, and if anyone tries to say I'm not, I am. Last meeting, someone said, your accent tells me you're not from El Paso, and I'm like, guess again. I married a man from Central Texas, and I guess I got a hold of his accent. All right, let's get started with our activity. Just as a reminder, last time that we met, one of the activities we did was the SWOT. Do you remember what SWOT stands for? We did the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and you all brainstormed ideas about, or what you all perceived to be those things: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for Socorro ISD. We charted those. We even power rated them. And we did that same activity with the board the first night that we were here, and then on the second day that we were here, we did that with the senior leadership team. And then we compiled, and then we did that with the community. And we compiled those results, and we've put them together in the form of a chart, which you will find in your packet, and it looks something like this. It's the color blue color-coded. It says at the top, Socorro ISD SWOT. And you'll see 3 columns there: board, senior leadership team, and community. And that's the synthesized version of that brainstorm from those different groups. I also want to point out that prior to, I want to say it was prior to our meeting as a group, Dr. Carmen met with the Parent Advisory Committee as well as the Student Advisory Committee, did a very similar, and the EPAC, Educators Professional Advisory Committee, and did a very similar process with a SWOT. We have I'm holding them in my hands back here, we have that brainstorm from those groups. We're going to synthesize those and include that as part of this document, or the end result of this process. So I want to make sure, if any of you may have been involved in that, I want you to know that information is with us and we are working on that. If you weren't part of that, it's good to know that there were other groups involved in this SWOT process, and will also be reflected in our strategic plan document. So what I'd like for you to do now is just take a look at the SWOT, and you'll see the 3 columns. We're going to start with our first activity tonight, and this, I don't think it will take too much time. How much time, Greg, did we say we'll give them? Yeah, in total. So I guess the grand total? Okay. But I don't think this is going to take that long. Yeah, 20 some odd minutes. Okay, so we're going to be passing out some chart paper to you, but before we do that, you as a team are going to be looking at each of these groups, the board, the senior leadership team, the community, and then look at strengths and start to identify what are those common themes across each of those 3 groups that they identified, and add that to your chart. When you start to see common themes, articulate that, put that on your chart, and then at the end we're going to post those and have a conversation about what those common themes are across each of these. Starting with strengths. So you'll do your chart again. Greg is doing a nice visual for us. And you'll do your strengths in one box, weaknesses in another. Thank you. Opportunities, and then your threats. Look for common themes in each of those among the 3 groups and add it to the appropriate box. And then we'll regroup and have a discussion about that. Any questions about the assignment? All right, on your mark, get set, go. We'll give groups another 3 minutes to finish up your charts. Two more minutes. 2 more minutes. One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay. We have all groups' charts completed. We have them posted on the wall. We're going to ask for a spokesperson from each of the groups, so identify who in your group will be the spokesperson. I suspect we're going to find some common themes among the 6 groups, but we want to take a look and see what we have. Who's got the first chart? Whose chart is that first one? If we can get a spokesperson from that table. All right. Tony has the microphone for you.
Explain each of them? Yeah. Okay, hello. So for SISD, our strengths were the range of courses, opportunities for students, academics, staff retention, and support. Yeah, overall support. And then for our weaknesses, there were disparities among providing equitable resources and the overall process. And the overall communication could be improved. For opportunity. Our overall theme was growth. And I know that's a bit ambiguous, but it's multifaceted within each sector of the community board and the senior leaders. So we found that the opportunities for facilities and the use of facilities, the human capital, and the programmings. And then for threats, the biggest one that we found was charter schools, social media, teacher retention and recruiting, and the failure to plan accordingly to any situation.
Outstanding. Give them a hand. How many of you all saw some commonalities from what your teams identified? Yep. Okay. Go ahead. Yes, that's the goal. Yeah. All right. Who's got second chart?
Blue, it's the blue.
Blue.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on down. Okay, so for strengths, we came up with opportunities for students, teacher retention, and district growth. Our weaknesses are poor or lack of communication, inequities just in general, and staffing shortages. And then for opportunities, closing the gap academically, growth for all stakeholders, which includes students, teachers, the staff, community, and then expand student academic social development and it's also including like elementary academics. And then for our threats, we have charter schools, teacher shortages, and social media.
Excellent. Give her a hand.
Very well done. Yeah.
All right. Who's got the next chart?
Red.
Red.
Okay, so for our group, for strengths, we got opportunity for students, growth in general, and a supportive faculty and staff. For weaknesses, we have staffing shortages, alignment of communication and equitable resources. For opportunities, we have opportunity for growth, improving student performances, and strong support systems for all. And for threats, we have charter schools, social media, and teacher shortages.
Outstanding. Well done. We're going to just keep rolling. Red and happy birthday, Addison.
Our Red Raider. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So for strengths, we had a broad range of student opportunities with the emphasis in the early college programs in high schools. We had teacher retention. We had supports for students, faculty, parents, and community. For weaknesses, we had our lack of communication, equity overall throughout the district, size and growth, and getting everyone to move into the same direction. And then for opportunities, we had opportunities to grow from experiences. We really want to emphasize the regaining of our A rating district and social engagement. And for threats, we had charter schools, teacher shortage, and adequate planning for growth. And then we put a little asterisk down here for transparency, which also falls into the category of our lack of communication throughout the district. And we talked about how if we don't focus on it, it could potentially become a threat for our district. So we wanted to add that in there as well.
very good.
Well done. Very well done.
So you're seeing the common themes. You also see them worded differently from chart to chart, but the theme itself is surfacing as one of our big rocks. All right, we've got the next group.
Okay, so my group identified common strengths as advanced academics, course offerings, also dual credit, and our faculty support. And our common weaknesses are our staffing and our lack of communication. Our common opportunities are enrollment and growth and student academic performances. And our common threats are charter schools, social media, and staffing.
That's great. Well done.
Very well done.
And our last group.
Okay, last but not least.
For strengths, we put growth, supportive faculty and staff, offerings and opportunities for students. For weaknesses, we put staffing shortages, so like teachers, and keeping up with the growth of like the population, more students coming into the schools, funding and allocation of funds, and lack of communication. For opportunities, we put program collaboration and expansion, student achievement, and regaining the A rating. For threats, charter schools, misinformation and false narratives, safety, and social media.
Very good. Give him a hand. So just quickly, anybody, tell me what is the importance of this activity and why did we do it?
Hang on.
Microphone.
Because we're seeking the best that we can for our district and our kids' education.
That's right. And we're looking for those big themes that what do we all agree about the district is a strength? Like what do we narrow when we get down to the very root of it? What are our strengths? And that's what we're doing. We're narrowing the focus. We've started with these long lists, but we're really getting clarity about where do we want to direct our focus. When we put too much attention on long lists, we tend to go everywhere. When we narrow the focus and we really get clarity about what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are our opportunities, what are our threats, then we can begin to formulate what are those priorities and our goals moving forward, and how are we going to achieve those. So thank you for articulating that for us. Good job. You want?
So we're going to go, thank you, Dr. Duran. Well said on a good summary. I was trying to think of a good summary statement. You said it, sir, so we're going to leave it at that. I think, and Jody, you correct me, but just so you all know, tomorrow afternoon we're working with the senior leader team for 2 or 3 hours, and these posters are on the wall while we're working. Fair enough? So everything we've worked on is going to be staring us literally in the face while we're working tomorrow afternoon. And then we're going to give a quick report out to the board tomorrow night. But really that 3-hour block tomorrow afternoon that's the through line that you're bringing to us with this. All right, we're going to transition to beliefs. And Tony is going to lead that part of the conversation. So get the belief, ABC belief statements out, and I'm turning it over to Dr. Wood.
Looks like this. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Jody mentioned that we both have roots in El Paso. I went to high school in El Paso. I went to Eastwood High School. I'm sorry, we weren't here in Socorro, but of course this was way back in the 1900s, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, beliefs. So, if you remember the last time we were all together, you took information and you coalesced it down to a statement that we hung on the walls. And so we took those statements and condensed them into an A, B, and a C. And you can see that on the left, going down, we have students, parents and families, faculty and staff, etc. And then if you go across the A, B, and C, that's just a summary with some additional words that were given when we did this activity the last time we were here. So your task for this is actually fairly quick. What we'd like you to do is, on your chart paper, just draw a line across in the center. And on the top, we've got a little demonstration here. You can put what. And on the bottom, you'll put why. So it's just what and why. So I'm going to assign a segment to each group, okay? And your task is to go across for your assigned segment and read A, B, and C and decide if one of those statements captures the best for that particular segment. So for students, you'd go through and if you select one, or you may take all three of them and sort of tweak one or change words out, whatever. But it's got to be yours. So you can either select one or you tweak one. And then you put your statement, what, and then why. Why is that word important, or why was B the best one that captured it? Any questions? Okay, so is this table 1? Okay, why don't you guys do students? Are you 2? Parents and families? 3? Are you 3? You're 4. You're 3. Why don't you do faculty and staff? Campus leaders? Let's do superintendent and central office staff, board of trustees. Okay? Go. Okay, about 1 minute. 1 minute. Maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Okay, let's have our spokespeople go and stand by your poster. And you might bring your thing with you. What are we doing? Spokespeople, go and stand by your group's poster. And you might bring your handout with you.
All right, you want to go back and forth, Jody?
Yes.
Okay, you go ahead. You start. Y'all start over there.
Oh, we're going to
Yep.
start over here. All right.
Thank you. Okay, so we had parents and families, and we decided, I was fortunate enough to be working with the same group that we even came up with these beliefs. I don't know if you guys were here last time and remember when we talked about the 3 C's, which was communication, collaboration, and so on and so forth. So with parents and families, we believe that they shall maintain a caring and collaborative relationship through a two-way communication with the school district in the best interests of their children. And so that's why we selected choice B, because it talks about the two-way communication, which is what we talked about in our lack of the district. And then we also talked about how it is doing it in the best interest of students. So we are talking about parents and families, but then again, it falls back on the students and how we want our parents to be involved for our students. And then we talked about how it encompasses our 3 C's from last time. And it was just a belief system that, captures everything that we believe parents and families should be for our district.
All right.
Okay, so we worked on the belief statement for the students, and we chose B. So in the Socorro ISD, the students shall receive a high-quality education in a safe and supportive environment with equitable access to learning opportunities, allowing them to realize their hopes and dreams. But we wanted to replace the hopes and dreams with potential, so it would be realizing their potential rather than hopes and dreams. And we did that because we decided that hopes and dreams would be kind of lofty. We elaborated on the fact that it's not really about the dreams, it's about them the students discovering what they want to do throughout their academic careers. And then potential, we chose that word because it's discovered through growth.
So yeah, that's really good, and that's exactly what the exercise is for. And I think, I don't know, where was your group? Oh, we're right here. So I mean, I think hopes and dreams, it's almost inferred inside potential, right? And so I think that's really, really good work. Yep.
Hi, so we got the Board of Trustees, and we chose B. Shall represent the district as a unified team with integrity and transparency in decision-making and ensuring appropriate accessibility to address the needs of the students, staff, and community. We also chose to add ensuring staff have the necessary resources to achieve excellence and visibility. For resources, it's just good for staff to, have the resources, and especially if they have that communication between the staff and the board, and like everyone has communication, then we can figure out what everyone needs. And then visibility, some students and even teachers don't know who the board is. So if we can put like a face to these people, then it's easier to communicate amongst everyone. And then we put Y because it encompasses the role of the board and like just what they should be doing.
Okay, Group 6 had the superintendent and central office staff, and we chose letter C, and that is, we will be active and engaged listeners who will model integrity and transparency while being sensitive to the diverse needs of the community. And we felt that this was important because it gets to the point with the words concise, sensitive, and diverse, as well as transparency, because that are the values that we hold as a district. And this statement is also all-inclusive with the words transparency and diversity, and it includes our community, whether that's teachers, staff, parents, or students. And the statement is descriptive without being too wordy, so it gets to the point.
So for our group, we had campus leaders, and we chose C, which is campus leaders are professional educators who lead with compassion to foster a positive campus culture that welcomes, accepts, and cares for all students and their safety, physical, and mental well-being. But we decided to replace students with the school's community and add education before safety. And the reason why is because though making sure that the students' growth is important, we can't have that growth without making sure that everyone else in the school and in SISD knows that they're cared for and knows that we have everything to help their growth as well, because without their growth, we can't have our growth. And so we want everyone to know that they feel that they are included into what SISD stands for, and knows that they're educated in their fields to make sure that the growth of the students, that the growth is being made for the students, and that everything is being done what's best for them.
Okay, so for faculty and staff, we got B and C and we smushed them together. So it reads, in SISD, faculty and staff shall exhibit professionalism in all aspects of their work, always advocating for students and putting their best interests first. And for the Y, we did like you see it, you see the structure of it. It's a social hierarchy of the school district. So students are first, of course, and the teachers are looking after the students, and the leaders and campus leaders are looking over the teachers.
I was going to protect him because they were still working on the Y, and I just ripped it off and walked away because it was the last one. Fair, right? I did, right? All right, so they had more explanation, but a very robust conversation, and it was a BC smash. And the fact that you can articulate that is just brilliant, because that was a robust conversation. So yeah, round of applause for that group. Okay, so we now will take the, thank you, Dr. Wood. We will take the draft that we have, and now I would move it from rough draft to near final draft. We just shifted to near final, and then next time you see it, it'll be final draft. It's still a draft, but we went from probably rough to final to near final. So that was really good. And by the way, we talked about adding the why and should we add the why part, and I'm so glad we did, because you get the rationale down there, and then that changes a little bit maybe of the word that's finally picked. So thank you all for that. In the very back of your packet somewhere is a document that looks like this. It's a balanced scorecard for Socorro ISD. And as I referenced earlier tonight, the strategic plan, and you're basically looking at the structure, but I said that belief or mission and vision should be based on belief, right? So at the top of this, it states that in Socorro ISD, we believe, and you see one bullet on it. Well, tomorrow night, when we present it to the board, it will have 6 bullets on it from each of these belief statements that are now on the wall. Fair enough? So this group gave us the language to put in the top of it. And I'm going to skip mission and vision for just a moment and go down to 4 priorities. Now, it won't be simply student, staff, community, and finance. There'll be a priority statement there or a goal statement there. But we feel strongly at our organization that all strategy should be written and articulated around these 4 things. So we should be thinking about students, we should be thinking about staff, we should be thinking about the community, we should be thinking about finance or efficiency, et cetera. So if you remember earlier, I said 3 strategic objectives for each of the 4 priorities equals 12. Are y'all starting to see how this is going to work? And so we start looking at 3 strategic objectives and then 3 key strategic actions for each of the 12 strategic priorities. Now we've got 36 key strategic actions, and then we have at least 1 measure, a progress measure or a lead indicator for each of the 36, and then at least 1 outcome measure or summative or final measure for each of the 36. Fair enough? And then our ideal situation is that the senior leader team takes the scorecard and they break it into, for example, earlier today we were talking to the superintendent and a few senior leaders, but September of every year we would do a priority 1 report. October of every year we would do a priority 2. November we do a priority 3. December a priority 4. January we start over. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the board and the senior leader team have gone through 2 full cycles of the scorecard, one time in the fall, one time in the spring, and then we get a lot of that column 5 data back at the end of the year, right? So, you know, maybe we don't do anything in May and June. You have a few graduations and things like that. And then come July and August, you know, you look at a summative or a column 5 report. That's the way the scorecard works. Tonight you just helped us round out the first part. And you actually helped us dramatically because tomorrow, do you see column 2 with strategic objectives? The cabinet or the senior leader team, I keep saying cabinet, but that's the senior leader team, the top leader of all the various strands in the organization. We're sticking your SWOT all over the wall tomorrow, and we start on column 2. So instead of just coming up with 12 things out of the blue, we're going to keep a clear line of sight on the SWOT, both the SWOT and the belief statements as we start a really good conversation tomorrow as a senior leader team. We'll report on that to the board tomorrow night, and then hopefully on November the 14th, we'll bring a draft of at least column 2 back to the board on November the 14th. I think we scheduled today, Dr. Carmen, senior leader team tomorrow, and then again on November the 14th. So we'll have 2 sessions before the board meeting on November the 14th. Tomorrow night is a real short report because it's a lengthy board agenda that you guys have set before you, so it'll be a real short report. And then on the 14th, it'll be a little longer meeting where we're working on some things with the board. All right, so now I want to go back to mission and vision. Usually, and here's the decision point I mentioned earlier, usually when we do this, we have built, and they're in your packet, you don't have to pull them out, but we lay it out all of the research about mission statements and vision statements, and we just looked for the commonalities in all of them. And a mission statement in the classical sense is a present tense description of what you do for the community. And it usually includes an action and a targeted beneficiary and then maybe some cause that you're working on. So I told Dr. Carmen earlier today, I said, typically when we roll in a district, the mission statement rarely meets the definition of a mission statement. Like whoever wrote it 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, we ran into one that was 50 years old not too long ago, did not use what we believe that the research says is a mission statement. Yours and Socorro ISD does meet the definition of what a mission statement is. The second thing that usually hangs us up is that they're long, like a paragraph, and no one, when we say, what's the mission of Socorro ISD, someone has to go and there's about an 8 foot by 8 foot poster on the wall, and there's the mission statement, and you have to read it. Your mission statement is, it turns out, really tight, really succinct. Let me read these words. We took them off the wall earlier and put them in literally, they're painted on the wall outside. And so we put them in the scorecard so you could look at it. But the mission of the Socorro Independent School District is to optimize our students' academic, artistic, athletic, and interpersonal skills. That's the mission currently. And as much as I would like to come in and say your mission statement is all wrong, because that's what consultants do, your mission statement is not all wrong. It turns out it's not too bad. So we're going to take 1 minute and let you have a conversation at your table. And the question is, do we, in light of everything for the last 2 meetings we've stuck on the wall, is this a good mission statement for Socorro ISD? There is nothing wrong with we're about to redo all of the rest of the words on this document starting tomorrow. There is nothing wrong with pulling those words forward, if that's what this group wants to do. Is that fair enough? All right, so 1 minute conversation about your current mission statement and its alignment to everything we've talked about. Go. Okay, this is a really good conversation. I hate to interrupt, but we're going to ask you to capture what you're saying and say keep, write mission on your chart, and write keep, modify, delete. Okay, we're either keeping it, we're modifying it, or we're redoing it. Delete's not a good, but we're redoing it. I think I'm hearing some modifying, so capture what you're saying on chart paper for us. But just leave them. I'm going to come to you. I'm going to save you some steps. All right. I'm going to report out this time some really good conversation. I'm going to start over here. We're going to go in reverse order. We'll let everybody just keep their seats. So the group 6 wants to modify the mission statement, everything the same at the front end of it, but they want to add in a safe learning environment at the end of it. So in a safe learning environment. It's kind of a bow to put around the mission statement. And by the way, what we're doing tonight is thank you, Group 6, a round of applause for Group 6. The Group 6, sorry. I misspoke. This is when we break the groups up, or try to. Yeah. Okay, another modification. This group, and I know this group does as well, so we're about to get 2 for 1 here, but you want to delete the word IR, O-U-R, and change it to each. So it would not be our students to optimize our students, it would be to optimize each student. Then there's another consideration, and I think that was y'all's modification, right? So these 2 groups have that same one, and then this group also added to delete the academic, artistic, athletic, and interpersonal skills, even though they didn't disagree with any of them, but instead of that, they wanted to utilize individual potential. So it would read, the mission of Socorro Independent School District is to optimize each student's individual potential. So, and y'all had a little bit of that conversation about like broaden it out. Now we went chicken or egg on that, back and forth. So we'll just have to do some soul searching on where we're going to go with that, because there was a little part of us that felt like when we walked in the building and we look up, we see art, we see academics, we see all of these things. But I get this was a good discussion over here that, well, there's other things as well, or can you fit everyone in there? But then y'all warmed up a little bit to maybe leaving those in there, but once we said each, because now we're helping each student. Okay, is that a fair representation of this conversation? Because that was a really good conversation. I tried to stay out of it, but I got sucked into it, yeah. And another good conversation, very similar to that one there, consider that round of applause for both of you. Revise skills, interpersonal skills to interpersonal potential, which is interesting. That's kind of getting to where you all went, and I wasn't part of this one. So there's an overlap there. So revise skills to potential. Round of applause for this group. And in 187-point font, this says keep. Is it keep or is it change?
Well, that's what I put.
Oh, sorry, you're telling me to read this. Okay. Slight modification.
I like it, but we want to modernize the verbiage.
Can I have my paper? Wait, can I have my paper? Yeah, I just want to read off my paper. Okay, no, it's okay. We just put a slight modification with an update with broader verbiage to modernize the statement, update it to where it fits more into a category of like a broader statement. We just wanted to, we like it. We think it's super short, sweet, and to the point, and it encompasses exactly what the district is. We just want to update the verbiage and, like we said, modernize it.
All right. That would be Jody and Tony that will do all modernization. I would throw my phone in the river on the way home, and I would disappear into the country and never come back. But thank you for that. Where do you just want me to read it? Okay.
We also decided to keep it. We think it's timeless. It's short and sweet, like they said. We like it. It's been here for a while, so.
This is just a mic drop. Keep it. Okay. So we had just here, do you want to drop the mic?
Sure.
Okay. Keep it. All right. So very similarly, and just a final wrap up, we're going to take those notes. So Tony and Jody and I will come pull those Actually, keep that page and just cordon off a little spot of it if you have one. If you don't, that's fine. We want you to spend 2 minutes to look at your vision. Vision statements are aspirational statements that summarize, if we get all of this work done, then what will that look like? And your current vision statement is tomorrow's leaders learning today. Short, tight. Typically, districts these days want them short enough to put on a pin or a T-shirt, if that makes sense, or a little banner on. No, seriously, that's for real. Okay, no. Yeah, you want it on a T-shirt? Okay, so here's a good example. Yeah, so this is a really good example of keeping it tight. You see, because the board has the vision statement on the back of their name tags. And so what we're running into is a lot of districts with these uber long vision statements that nobody can say it, or it doesn't make any sense even if they read it. So I tell you what, let me ask the whole group if you are opposed to leaving it, just raise your hand and give your rationale. If you're opposed to leaving it. Yes, sir.
Well, my thought was changing it to educating tomorrow's leaders today. That was my thought. Educating tomorrow's leaders today.
We'll capture that note, educating tomorrow's leaders today. Okay. Educating tomorrow's leaders today. Any other? We're going to roll that into our comments for tomorrow's work. All right. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I like the alliteration. I like the alliteration that's in the current state in the existing statement. TLLT. Tomorrow's leaders learning today.
Yeah, and I suspect that was deliberate. That's right. I suspect that was deliberate. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? We're capturing notes. All right. Dr. Carmen, I think that concludes what we needed to get from the group tonight. Dr. Duran, everybody good? And so let me let you have the mic for just a dismissal or whatever you want to do. But thank you all. And, you know, the amount of work that you did for a chicken sandwich is unbelievable. It's off the chart, but thank you so much. And then we're going to need to adjourn the meeting also. Do you want to say something real quick?
Thank you, Dr. Gibson. Again, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight and putting in the time, work, and energy into this process. Again, you are helping us lay down the roadmap for the next 4 years, the direction in which this district is headed. I know we talked earlier about why, the strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Analysis, well, it's awfully hard to develop a roadmap if you don't know where you're starting. So you all looked at that tonight, got us going the right direction. Again, I appreciate it. There's probably extra chicken sandwiches on the way out if you want them, but thank you all. Mr. Mena? I'm sorry, Mr. Naheda? We have a meeting with the board on the 14th. We have 2 meetings with cabinet in between then, and then on the 15th, we're going to bring it to the board in a final, hopefully, package to a regular board meeting for the board to consider adoption. Did I get that right? Oh. Recognize them.
That's probably the recognition on the 15th.
At the 15th?
Yeah, we have what we need. We usually engage the community for belief, mission, and vision, and we have what we need. I think we may have been talking about recognition of this group on the 15th, the night that we present the near final scorecard, I think. Thank you for bringing that up because that's in my notes somewhere, and I get focused on the moment, and I know we need to plan ahead. And I said chicken sandwich and my stomach growled because I haven't eaten yet, so I'm thinking about a chicken sandwich. All right, Mr. President, I think we're going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all again.
So much.
Let me, if you don't mind, sir, everybody give yourself a round of applause. Thank you for everything tonight.
Thank you so much for being here. Meeting adjourned. Time is 7:09.